With his reckless ideas and absurd entanglements with the gods, King Midas ruled the ancient kingdom of Phrygia with uneven judgment. In Greek mythology, he is remembered as a wayward ruler whose strange behavior puzzled his people and repeatedly attracted divine attention. Midas lived in a haze of excess, indulging himself and his beloved daughter with luxury, endless feasts, and wine. It was only natural that he felt drawn to Dionysus, the god of wine, revelry, and spectacle. One day, Midas discovered a satyr asleep in his rose garden, overcome by drink rather than flowers. Recognizing him as a companion of Dionysus, the king welcomed the satyr into his palace and allowed him time to recover. Pleased by such hospitality, Dionysus offered Midas a single wish. Surveying his surroundings, the king felt dissatisfied despite his riches. Jewels, silks, and splendid halls no longer impressed him. His life, he believed, lacked true brilliance. What he wanted was more gold. Dionysus granted the wish, and a powerful enchantment surged through Midas, allowing him to turn anything he touched into gold. Ecstatic, the king rushed through his palace, brushing halls that gleamed, statues that shimmered, and goblets that sparkled. He moved from room to room in a frenzy, touching every object until the palace itself blazed with gold, and his manic laughter echoed through the halls. Exhausted and hungry, Midas reached for a bunch of grapes from a newly gilded bowl, only to nearly break his teeth when the fruit hardened into nettle. Bread stiffened in his hands, and when he collapsed onto his bed in frustration, even his soft pillows had become solid gold. Hearing his cries, his daughter entered the room. When Midas reached out to her, he watched in horror as she froze into a lifeless golden statue. Stricken with grief, Midas begged the gods to remove his terrible gift. Taking pity on the foolish king, Dionysus instructed him to wash his hands in the river Pactolus. As Midas dipped his fingers into the water, the golden power drained away. He returned home to find his daughter alive once more and his palace restored. Rejoicing in his relief, that one might expect the lesson to have finally sunk in. Yet only weeks later, Midas blundered again. He offended Apollo, god of music and the sun, by declaring the rustic Pan the greater musician. Apollo mocked the judgment, claiming only someone with a donkey's ears could make such a mistake, and transformed Midas accordingly. Ashamed, the king hid his bristled ears from public view, revealing them only to his barber, who was sworn to secrecy during an unbearably awkward haircut. Though the barber struggled to keep the secret, it consumed him. At last, he left the city, dug a hole in the ground, and whispered into the earth. Midas has donkey's ears. Soon, reeds grew where the words were buried, and when the wind passed through them, they echoed the whispered secret. Donkeys lifted their heads in recognition, and people smiled quietly at the folly of their king. With his cursed touch and donkey ears, Midas was never truly respected. While other rulers were honored with statues and temples, his memory lingered differently hidden in the glittering depths of the river and carried on the whispering winds of Phrygia.